Hi, and welcome back to the mudroom. I know it's been a little while since I put out a video. I've been having some technical difficulties with my computer. My laptop is probably about 10 years old, and it's been having problems with the audio part with recording audio. So I went and got a portable mic here, and I'm hoping that it's gonna help a little bit. So, but anyway, again, welcome back. Today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about bluing. Every firearm that we have, unless of course it's a stainless barrel or some other type of barrel that doesn't need it, it is blued. And by blued I mean it's black or blue-black in color. The reason that you blue the steel, not just the barrel but the actual gun itself, is to help with corrosion and rust. It doesn't get rid of rust, but it'll help you fight rust. Okay, so don't think that if you put the bluing on there that you're not going to have to worry about rust. Cleaning and oiling your firearms regularly will be the one thing that'll take care of the rust for you. Now there are different types of rust. Types of bluing, and basically what it does is it's using black iron oxide, which is black rust. You have your red rust and you have your black rust, and the black rust is what is covering the barrel. You have your hot bluing, cold bluing, rust bluing, niter bluing, charcoal bluing, heat bluing, and other type. You have case hardening. You have all sorts of different things that people have done over the years to help to protect their barrels. I'll go over a few here. The hot bluing is what's commonly used today. That's using the salts, the corrosive salts, to blue your firearm, and makes a nice smooth finish on the barrel. It helps protect against rust. You have niter bluing. Niter bluing is where they take chemicals like acids, and they lock your metal up in this acids, and the fumes come up and they cause the iron to rust and make orange rust, and then it's either boiled or steamed and it's made into black rust. So that's how you get that. Charcoal bluing. Charcoal bluing is it needs 800 degrees to do it, and what you do is you take charcoal from wood, charcoal from bone, you take all this different stuff and you put it together, you pack it in there and pack the metal in there, and you get it up to 800 degrees for a few hours, and that's what you get. You'll end up, sometimes you can get different colors with this depending on what you use for substances to stick in there with the thing. You get different shades of blues and even straw colored and etc. And that's what you do. You have your browning, which was what was used before bluing. That was used back in the 1700s, where what they would do is take a substance, usually a weak acid, and they would put it on the metal. The metal would get a fine rust. They'd wipe it off, and they'd keep doing that over and over till they got the shade of rust that they wanted, and it would help protect somewhat the metal. Like I said, there's different types of bluing. You can heat up for small parts. You can heat up a part till it gets just about red hot, and then you dump it in oil, and when you dump it in the oil it'll get black. I've used that before for screws, and you can use it for stainless too. Stainless, if you want to use a stainless screw and you want it to look like it's blued, that's one way to do that. So but what we're going to talk about is what I'm doing right now. We're not going to do case hardening. Case hardening is another one where you pack it in with a bunch of stuff and you heat it up to 1300 degrees. And case hardening was important because the metals that they were using were just regular steel. They weren't very strong. So by case hardening, it made the metal that much stronger, so that it could be used for a higher load or whatever that it needed to. And that makes pretty colors too on the side. Everybody hopefully has seen a firearm that has case hardening. Okay, but what I'm doing now is I'm doing rust bluing, and the rust bluing is actually pretty simple, and we're going to do the first part of it today, and then later on, as I'll add it in, and we'll do more and more of it as time goes on. But there's two types of rust bluing. There's the slow rust bluing, which is what I do, which is you take your chemicals. I'm using the Browning's rust blue, and what you do is you put it on your after you've prepped your metal, you put it on there and you let it sit until it gets a fine coat of rust on it, and then you can either boil it in distilled water if you have a thing that's big enough in order for you to boil it in distilled water, or you can steam it, and I'll show you later on how I steam my parts, and they come out just fine. Then there's the express bluing, where you get the metal hot and you put stuff on there and it like rusts right away, and you can throw that in there and you'll get the same results pretty much that you will if you use the slow burning. Another way to rust, if you're going to do rust bluing, is, and I tried it on some smaller stuff, is you take hydrogen peroxide and you warm it up to, well, you get it near boiling, and then you take and you mix in a bunch of salt until the salt is dissolved, and you throw the pieces inside there with that solution, and it'll kind of fizz. But you got to be careful, because if you leave it in there too long, what'll happen will be it'll pit the steel. So you have to be careful of that. So that's why I'm using the slow. It's a lot easier. I can get it to rust in about 4 hours or so, 3 to 4 hours, and then I steam it. Hold on a second, let me show you. I'm doing the 3030, the Winchester, model 94, and this is some examples of the bluing that you get when you do rust bluing. And from what I've read, it's the most protectant that you can use on your firearm as far as combating rust. It was used about the 1850s, I guess is what it said, up until after World War I. And after World War I, they decided they needed a quicker way to blue, and that's when they started using the chemicals that they use. This stuff will take, you put it on there, you rust it, you boil it, and you have to do that about 5, 6, 7, 8 times in order to get it the dark that you want it to be. So it takes some time. So it's an investment that you make. What else am I missing here with the rust bluing? Okay, so the first thing, the first thing I want to do is you got to put on gloves. I've taken and I've sanded or polished my barrel and receiver down to 400 grit, and they say you don't need to go that far, but 400 grit is, they said to go to 320, but I didn't have any 320 sandpaper, so I used 400 grit. So here it is. It's been sanded. Now I have to clean it. So what you got to do is you got to make sure you get all the oil and all the grease off of the firearm in order to do it, because rust won't form, obviously, where there's oil. So I've got, some people use acetone. I use my denatured alcohol. and I would just clean it off real good. Make sure you get all the cracks and crevices. You want to make sure you get all the screw holes, because they might have oil in them from when you polished. You know, you put oil on your sandpaper so that the oil carries away the little particles of metal that can cause it to scratch instead of polish. And yes, this is the one that I had before. We'll talk about it later, but I was able to straighten out the tang, and it fits just fine. So there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of the solution. You don't need much. You need just a little bit. And I'm going to put it inside my container. And the reason I say that you don't need much is because, oh, I didn't bring a hold on. It's because you don't want to soak this thing. You just want to get it wet. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your I just use a patch, a cleaning patch, and I put it in here and I get it wet. And then you wring it out because you just want it damp. Now when you put this stuff on, you want to put it on in gentle strokes without overlapping as much as possible. I tried to take the saddle ring off, and it wasn't coming off. So I figured I can work around it rather than destroying it, you know. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting this stuff on. I don't do the inside of the receiver. You're gonna have to get more of it on there. The idea is to get it on there evenly so it'll rust evenly. Can't see with the bright lights. Okay, looks good. Now, I'll show you here in a second. What I've done is I've taken my vise and I put my cleaning rod on the vise. And by doing that, I get access to, I like to put a little clip on the end here just to keep it from sliding off. Now I get access to my barrel. What do I do with that? I think there it is. So when I bring this stuff out, I just have just a little bit in there. I don't know if you can see that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work my way up the barrel. And then you can turn it a little bit. Go up, turn it a little bit, come back down, turn it, turn it. I think I turn this a little bit. And there you go. So just turn it, turn it. Turn it. Shoot. And then we're done. Okay, we just put a little bit on there. And now we're going to let it dry for a few. Because it won't take very long to dry. It won't take very long to dry. I don't know if you could hear me over there, but what I was doing was I had my patch, and I was just going down, turning the barrel a little bit, going back, turning the barrel a little bit, coming back until I got all the way around the barrel. And that way there, it's an easy way to do that, using your cleaning rod to do that. One thing that I would recommend is that you put a little clip on the end, like I have. Oop. You can see it. I put a little clip on the end, just to keep the barrel from sliding off. But we're letting this dry. We're letting this dry for a little bit, because then we're going to get ready to hang it. And we're going to have to let it hang to dry. And rust. And I've figured out a way to do this. All you need is some string. Some string. And your barrel. Trying to do this. You know, someday I'm going to invest in some good audio video stuff. Okay, so now it's probably dry enough, at least on the receiver end. So I'm going to take it off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some string down the barrel. So it comes out the other end. Then what I have is I have these things that you use to put into plasterboard. You know, you put this in and it'll hold the screw. What I do then is I take this and I tie this off. So when I pull the string, it goes up inside the barrel. So there we go. It's hanging. Okay, it's hanging. So I'm not going to show you, but I hang it in my bathroom. And I have a picture. I'll put the picture on there of how it's done. I hang it in my bathroom because it's a pretty humid place anyway. And so that it'll rust. But I help it along a little bit, where I've absconded from my wife one of these. It's a nebulizer for her essential oils, and it raises the humidity inside the bathroom quite a bit, so that I can get it to rust in about 4 hours or so. And then in 4 hours we're going to steam it. So for right now, that's it for now. And what we're going to do is, like I said, I'm going to put this in and steam it, and rust it, and then I'll be back. All right. Thank you.